to OG Talk. This is Vlad from Organic Grill. Organic Grill is a vegan restaurant in East Village. We are here for 20 years. And I'm here with my friend and co-host, Lauren Purcell, and we are doing OG Chat. Hey, Lauren.
How you doing, Vlad?
Guys, welcome to our series Behind Closed Doors, where we talking to our neighbors, talking to our friends through unfortunately closed doors, or at least 6 feet. And as you all know, our life changed and we are going through crazy times. But what is not crazy, our love for each other and our desire to connect. And we are so happy that today Lauren brought her friend, her inspiration. Lauren, I would love to give you honors to introduce your guest.
Yes, I mean, we often say we talk to our neighbors, but we mean, global neighbors, friends. Jean is here today. She's literally my neighbor. She lives in my building. She is my hero. She has lived in the East Village for a very long time, and she's also half of Idiosyncratic Fashionistas, which is a pair of, she's an Instagram influencer. And Jean, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about how long you've lived in the East Village, and tell us about Idiosyncratic Fashionistas.
Thanks, Lauren. My name is Jean. I've lived in the East Village since 1990. I literally have 3 months left on my 30-year mortgage. So I'm so happy. I moved to New York in 1975 from Washington, D.C., and I first lived on the Upper East Side, commuted down to the Federal Building downtown near City Hall. I lived in multiple places throughout the city, in Chelsea, the East Village, the West Village, Soho, the Upper East Side, as I said. And the East Village is like my favorite spot. Once I landed here, that was it. I wasn't going anywhere else. And it's very different now. I moved here, as I said, in 1990. New York City was much grittier back then. The East Village had not been as gentrified. In the 1980s and early 90s, a lot of Soho became really big, and the space was at a premium. So the galleries and boutiques were moving east, and they were moving to the East Village. So when I first moved here, there were lots of art galleries, individual owner boutiques and things. And then in 2008, when the market went bad, a lot of those places closed or moved down to the Lower East Side where it was cheaper, or to Brooklyn, and bodegas and other types of shops, retail shops, moved in. It was a very different change. When I first moved here, and I'd go out in the morning, and you'd have this crunch on the sidewalk, and you'd look down and you'd hear this crunch, and it was either crack vials, or it was like windows, the back windows, the front windows of cars had been smashed open, and people were stealing the car radios. Those were like a big thing back in the early 90s.
Did anyone have clubs in New York? The club, you put it across your steering wheel?
Oh, always, yes. Yes, people
like
cars.
I'm trying to know how these all terrible times affected your fashion style.
That's why when I moved to New York, I was very preppy, Upper East Side, very cool. And then when I moved to Soho, it was right when punk was coming in. So I had purple hair. I had it shaved on the side. When I got married, I was Bride of Frankenstein. I literally had hair going up when I had white streaks in it to look like Elsa Lanchester. I had this white Norma Kamali Greco-Roman gown. We had the reception in Exit Art. It's an art gallery on Broadway, right about Prince Street area. And it was crazy. It was the best party of my life. My mother came up from Maryland with her bridge club, and all my friends from New York were here. Friends came in from out of town. My relatives came from all over. My Pennsylvania Dutch, at the time, 94-year-old aunt was there. And the gallery's theme, and I have, if you're ever renting an art gallery for your wedding, please ask what will be on the walls when you have your reception. When I was there to book the space, they had these beautiful landscapes, and I thought, oh, okay, this never even dawned on me to ask. Overdose was the theme. The big mural with this guy who had slit his throat, was drinking beer, and the beer was coming down out of his slit throat down onto the ground. And that was where my mother's table was supposed to be. So it was like, okay, let's move some of this stuff around. It was hilarious. But there was this wonderful art piece, it's by a famous artist now, and it was a neon sign that said death. And the D and the H would drop off. So it would say, eat death, eat death.
Such a great background for the event, huh?
Oh, it was great. It was great. And I went to a family reunion many years later, and my great aunt said something to the fact that it was the best family wedding ever. And what's a wedding without eat death?
Well, Jean, not all brides would have taken things in such stride, because brides can be bridezillas, and I can picture someone having a little panic heart attack about that. So that's so you're cool. Gina's the coolest. You're my hero. Can you talk a little bit about your fashion and the fact that you're an Instagram influencer? And I mean, you do not have to share how old you are, but most people hear Instagram influencers and think a 21-year-old, so how have you been able to get such success on Instagram, and why are there more people?
She started very early. She's still 21. She just started like when she was like 3.
I turned 70 on my last birthday. I'm very proud of being, silver haired and happy. And timing was everything. I started a blog, Idiosyncratic Fashionistas, with my friend Valerie back in 2008.
How did you meet Valerie? Sorry to interrupt.
We met at a vintage clothing show. We both really liked vintage clothing. She had just spent 10 years in Japan. So she was looking at Japanese textiles, and I was looking at, 1930s crazy hats and things. But we struck it up and started running around to museum shows, other vintage shows, going to all of the really good flea markets at the time. And people would approach us and say, and we had very straight day jobs. So they're like, do you have a card? And it's like, I don't think I want to give her my government card, So it's like, and they said, well, what do you do? Are you artists? No. Are you painters? No. Are you video people? No. Yeah, we had no skills whatsoever. But we decided we would start a blog. Somebody said, you should blog. So we said, well, we can do that. And Blogspot had started, and you didn't need to know programming or anything else. So we decided we were the Idiosyncratic Fashionistas. If I had to do it today, now that everybody texts and you got your little phone out and stuff, I would do IF, literally, because you meet somebody who's not English speaking native language. And like we met some people from Belarus who had seen us on TV in Belarus because we'd done a video for Voice of America. And I thought, and I would have never been able to tell them, because they said, well, let me put it in my phone. It's no, it won't work. So, we were very verbal at the time.
And I want to tell you that you're actually very famous. I went on your Instagram and I saw who are following you, and I found a couple of friends, and I sent them messages, and they had like a whole bunch of questions for me to ask you. So you're very famous.
I saw Jean on the subway. Like, I'm running through the subway and I see a poster of Jean on the wall. She's everywhere. But wait, Eddie, what did your friends want to know?
So they actually met you at Cha-Cha House?
Yes.
Where you would...
She's wonderful. She makes the most beautiful hats.
Right, that's true. And hats is only one thing she's making. She's making books. She's sewing. I don't even want to go there. She does everything. But she wanted me to ask you a question. What's philosophy behind your blog? Because she thinks it's incredible idea what you started.
We started it to empower women of a certain age. We gave them permission to do whatever you want to do. Get dressed up. I used to travel a lot for my job. I still travel. And I'd meet women who'd say, well, I couldn't dress like you. And it's like, yeah, you can. It's not a big deal. Go shop your closet. You just go in and find the things that really make you happy. You have a favorite pair of earrings, you have a favorite ring, you have a favorite hat, you have favorite shoes. You put them on, it changes your whole attitude. And so we took that as our mantra. It was, I'm not dead and I'm not invisible. You know, we'd show up, we'd go in places with gray hair, and you walk in the room, people would look at you and then they'd look away. It was like, oh, you're an old lady, you're invisible. And we were like, no freaking way.
You're not invisible, Jean. No, the great thing about Jean is, I mean, really, Vlad, do you see why she's my hero? Like, I mean, I really honestly am glad that I met you. And the funny thing is right now we're in quarantine and I look like garbage every time I leave my apartment. And every time I see Jean, she still looks like $1 million, even in quarantine, even when we have to wear a mask and gloves. So is that something important too? I don't think
I actually saw pictures of you with a mask. It was actually very nice.
Yeah. But Jean, do you ever dress down? Like, you get dressed up all the time? You always look good.
I don't have dress. I don't own a pair of jeans. I do wear shorts now. I'm wearing shorts with leggings. That's my concession to the coronavirus and, you know, spending all time in my apartment.
What fashion rules do you have for yourself? Do you so you don't like jeans? Are there any other like rules for your look?
There are no rules. It's like, because there's some women who love jeans. They look great in them. That's it. They put them on and they're ready for the day. And it's like, I'm just not that person. So my rules are not anybody else's. I really like jewelry. I like hats. Yeah. I love rings. I mean, I don't leave, you know, I sleep in my rings. So the only thing I don't do is bathe in the ones that are leather, but other than that, but you know, it's just, there are no rules. It's like, people overthink it. It's not that hard. It's not that serious. You know, it's kind of like, oh, if I don't get it right, it's like, there is no such thing as the fashion police. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to point at you on the street and say, "Ew, your lipstick's on crooked," you know, or your skirt, you've got a run in your stocking. It's like, no. And if they do, you just say, "Oh yeah, I planned it that way."
That's what I love about New York. I don't know if you can get away with it in Ohio, where I'm from, but New York.
I'm really curious to know, is it a happy coincidence that you were just born free and you just can do what you want? Because you said you just want to do what you enjoy. Were you always like this, or there was something that you did to become the one that you are proud of?
I used to go to Catholic school, grade school, high school, college, graduate school. And in grade school, we had to wear uniforms. So I took dance lessons, so I got to be a ballerina. And so, you know, I wore my little uniform to school. But when I was in ballet class, you got your leotards and things. And when you performed, you got to wear these fabulous costumes. And so the drama of all of that, you know, just really got to me. And so that kind of stayed with me all the way through. I trained as a ballerina, and I was going to audition for the Washington Ballet Company. And I was playing touch football with my brothers and got tackled and cut my knee open. And back then they didn't do arthroscopic surgery. They did the whole big giant thing. So my dance career was ended. So I went academic and was an English major, but always loved clothes, always dressed. My mother was a clothes horse. I used to work in my first summer job was in Woodward and Lothrop. It was a big store in DC. You know, we don't have department stores anymore, but I worked in women's foundation garments, selling ladies girdles and bras, and, you know, back when it was serious foundations where you were like sloped in. And so, but that was the foundation for the clothes that you wore at the time because they were very structured. And so I really learned about dressing from the inside out. What you wore underneath was like the skeleton. And then you put the feathers on it, you know, if you were making a bird, or you put the meat on it if you were making a horse, you know, but the foundation garments were it. So then when we got to the 70s and nobody wore bras, nobody wore underwear, and the whole foundation garment industry went to heck, it was kind of like, okay, well, we'll just go with this hippie thing then, you know. It's like, all right, this works. So, you know, it's great.
Do you do any of your clothing or accessories yourself, or you just try to buy it?
You know, I learned that I have no skills in that area. So I support the artists and designers who do, especially independent, small designers like Cha-Cha's, you know, you know, her beautiful hats, East Village hats. You know, there are a number of places here in the neighborhood that just make wonderful things. The only thing I did is I customized a pair of Dansko clogs from that wonderful store that closed on First Avenue and 8th Street.
They're right next to us.
Yes, and I got the back when we had the gentleman who had the big East Village. He would make me platforms that were literally 4 inches high, and so on top of a clog, you know. And I started out at, I used to be 5'4", so I started out at 5'4", and I was like 5'9", you know, trooping around. So that was my concession that I could actually make. Yeah.
I have a question, Jean. How do you decide what you're going to wear? Do you decide the night before, in the morning? Are you like, what's inspiring me right now? Do you plan things ahead?
I wish I did. Valerie and I get together. Valerie and I have been doing Instagram now since 2013, and we get invited to runway shows and museum openings. We get to cover them as press. And so, you know, we're kind of like, well, maybe we should dress, you know, like, what are you going to wear? And I'll call it the night before. I don't know. I'm thinking of like my red dress with a blonde. I was like, what are you thinking about? I said, well, I'm thinking about like black suit with a blonde. And then we show up the next day and we're in like totally different outfits because it's like all last minute. Sometimes I find something and I go, yes, I'll wear that either Saturday or Sunday. So I'll have it out based on the weather. It's more like what the weather is. And right now when it's going to be 80 degrees on Thursday and it was 35 on this past week, it's crazy.
I know you're a vegetarian. What have you been cooking during quarantine?
My husband is the cook in the family and he's fabulous. He's carnivorous. So tonight I had a veggie burger. I love tofu dogs. I've been doing tofu dogs, this is the extent of my ability to cook, with really good sauerkraut from the butcher on 2nd Avenue and getting all kinds of good stuff at Essex Market. Just veggies and things. And the Union Square Market's still open. You know, we run around the neighborhood. OG, you know, there's places that we run in. You know, you wouldn't, he does the shopping, you wouldn't know who he was. He's like very low key, very low key.
Jean, if you ever decide to run for like president of Positive Vibe, I'm voting for you for sure.
Yes.
Well, you know, life is too short to sweat it, you know, just relax.
Oh, I wish, will you be my life coach and I can just knock on your door every morning and we have a quick morning?
There is a reason you live in her building.
Yes. And actually, it would be very hard for Jean to avoid me because she lives, you know, I have to walk by her door all the time. So
before we moved to the East Village, we lived in Soho, and my husband had been in this apartment before, you know, for 13 years before we got married. And his landlady, you know, that would sit in the front window, you know, she was on Sullivan Street, and she would just sit with the window open and watch everybody going in and out of the building and up and down the block. She knew everybody's story. She knew everything about everybody. And she was a hoot. She was so funny. She was a neighborhood fixture.
We only have like a minute, but I really could talk to you forever. But can you quickly, because this is going to put a smile on everybody's face, talk about the cats that you help in our beautiful East Village?
I feed a couple of feral cats who are real characters on East 5th Street. But Social Teas Animal Rescue used to be on 4th Street, and I used to volunteer there, clean cages and things. I adopted a cat from there. The cat adopted me, big solid black Bombay. But that's what got me into it. It was just finding places for them to, you know, foster homes, finding them new homes. There's so many, we're in kitten season now where cats are, you know, giving birth to kittens. And so they're all coming into the shelters. So it's just like giving them a helping hand, you know.
How many cats do you have again? You've adopted a few, right?
Yes, I have 3 rescue cats. One I rescued a mother cat and 4 kittens. Found homes for the 3 kittens. I kept the 4th. And then I rescued a cat from the East River Park. My girlfriend called me and said, she was jogging and said, there's a cat here who's injured. And I went over with a carrier and hunted for him for like an hour. And this guy was walking his pit bull and I couldn't find the cat. And I was getting really upset. And I was getting ready, it was across the East, you know, the FDR Drive. So I had, you know, I was at 10th Street and I had to walk over the walkway. So I was going to go back up the walkway and I saw this, it looked like a little tiny black plastic bag. And I went over and I touched it and it turned around and went, wah! And it was now Bugsy, who's this wonderful, crazy tuxedo cat that runs the roost. So, yeah.
I'd like to thank Lauren for bringing Jean Stone. Thank you very much for brighten our day. It was a wonderful experience to learn about what you do, and I'm sure you'll be our guest at least a couple of more times. Please everyone, check our great episode Behind Closed Doors and OG Talk.
Also, look up Jean on Instagram.
Right, follow Jean on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're going to put your Instagram right next to the description of the episode, so you'll have all this information. And you can hear OG Talk on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube. Guys, if you have a moment to subscribe and like us and comment, we would appreciate. We need your support. And you like the episodes, send it to your friends. And big props to my colleague and co-host Lauren Passell. I think we are doing better and better every episode. I'm Vlad Greenberg. Guys, have a great day. Stay safe and healthy. And Jean, thank you very much. We want to see you again. And again, I was right about having you as a president of Positive Vibes. That would be a great title for you. Take care, guys.